guys, I'll tell you.
Mike's on.
Especially the kinds of neighbors. I wish everyone had neighbors like that. I really would. I wish everybody had neighbors.
We'll go ahead and call to order the Public Safety, Health and Welfare Committee meeting of Tuesday, September 21st, beginning at 7:38 p.m. Present are committee members Brossard, Williamson, and Limpert, as well as the rest of council. Council President Jones, Mayor Kennedy, Law Director, Planning, Safety Director, and guests. Tonight we are resuming a discussion on 2021-58, which is an ordinance to amend section 555.03 entitled Specific Prohibitions of Chapter 555 of the General Offenses Code, entitled Noise Control of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Olmsted, for the purpose of modifying special regulations for specific activities occurring on Sundays, including but not limited to lawn mowing. So we had last Tuesday, we had a very healthy and robust conversation on the subject. And at that time, we decided to hold it in committee so that we can gather some additional information to consider. Primarily, we wanted to find out what are our neighboring communities doing with regard to lawn mowing and the associated hours that they would be allowed to. So currently, our ordinance allows for Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Then on Saturday, it gets a little weird. We have a start time of 8 a.m. and no end time. And then Sunday, we allow for mowing between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. So, in talking with the sponsor of this legislation, and I'm in agreement with him, it makes more sense to have a uniform start and stop time for all 7 days of the week. And thanks to our clerk, we were able to gather information from many neighboring communities on when their start and stop times are. And I believe that the times that we've chosen are pretty consistent with what our neighbors are doing. So to refresh everybody's memory, the proposal is to have lawn mowing allowed Monday through all 7 days, beginning at 8 a.m. and no later than 9 p.m. So with this additional information, I am comfortable, after discussion or questions and comments from members, I'm comfortable moving it out of committee into a vote. So that said, are there any questions or comments from committee? Mr. Limpert?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Brossard. I think we did talk about, though, looking into the power tools ordinances for consistency, as well as clarification for some of those louder tools and the timings of those. Correct?
Correct, and thank you for that reminder. So the goal is to get this moved forward during lawn mowing season, fall lawn mowing season, when the daylight hours get shorter, and then we'll tackle the additional language regarding additional power equipment at another time. This is just a random thought. My suspicion is that in 5 years, noise will be less of an issue today, because I believe that many residents will end up transitioning to battery-operated mowers, much like a lot of people have transitioned to LED light bulbs. But that's just me with a crystal ball. So, any other comments from council members? Okay. So seeing none, hearing none, at this point, I'll make a motion to approve to all of council 2021-58 and ask for a second.
Second.
That'll be seconded by Councilwoman Williamson. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. That'll pass 3-0. Our meeting will conclude at 7:42 p.m.
I'd like to call the caucus meeting of September 21st, 2021 to order. Present are all members of City Council, the Mayor, Law Director, Human Resources Director, Planning and Development Director, our Clerk of Council, and our guests this evening. On tonight's agenda, we have a number of items to be considered for suspension of the rules. Before we go into that, are there any additions or corrections to the caucus meeting minutes of September 7th, 2021? Seeing none, those will stand as written. The first piece of legislation to be considered under suspension of the rules on second reading, Resolution 2020-111, which was heard in committee last week, and Councilman Limpert.
Yeah, so 2020-111, there's a deadline of September 30th to make application, so that's why we're requesting suspension.
Are there any questions from council? Any objection to suspension? Seeing none. The next piece of legislation to consider for suspension of the rules this evening, on second reading, Resolution 2021-55, which was heard in committee last week. Councilman Schuman.
Yeah, that's, this is a thing we do every year, and we did discuss this in committee last week, and it was recommended 3-0 without any objections, so no objection.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Any objection to suspension? Seeing none. The next piece of legislation to consider is Ordinance 2021-57, which was also heard in committee last week. Councilman Broussard.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, discussed in committee, nothing, nothing really came up that we should be concerned about, and that passed, I believe, by a vote of 3-0. So no objection to suspension.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Any objection to suspension? Seeing none. The final piece of legislation to be considered under suspension of the rules this evening is on first reading, Resolution 2021-61, extending the temporary outdoor patio dining area program until December 31st, 2021. And Councilwoman Heeman.
Thank you, Madam President. We have extended this. This will be, I believe, the second time we're extending this. This is a sort of a pandemic COVID relief legislation that is designed to let our restaurants expand their temporary outdoor dining spaces through and up until December 31st, 2021. Many of our restaurants have become very creative in this process, and our planning department has been very generous. Thank you, Director Lieber, for helping a lot of those businesses, keep their customer base that they need for their revenue. So I do think it's, in the best interest of our community. Our residents do enjoy eating out. Our restaurants need the revenue, and I think for our public safety and health, it would be a welcome extension.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Any objection to suspension of the rules? Seeing none. Assigning to committee under first reading, Resolution 2021-59 will go into Streets and Transportation, and Resolution 2021-60 will go into Finance. And looking to schedule our council meetings for next Tuesday, September 28th. Councilman Schuman.
Certainly, we can have a meeting at 7 o'clock. Really, I don't imagine this is going to take too long. probably looking at a 10-minute meeting.
Thank you. Councilman Limpert.
Yeah, I will follow that meeting at 7:10 for 2021-59 and ask that a service representative be available. And I'll schedule that for being ambitious, 5 minutes, and may go longer, but usually it's an annual bid. So 7:10 to 7:15. Thank you.
Thank you. And council members, I'm going to call a committee of the whole meeting for October 5th at 6:30 to discuss the redistricting process. I expect that meeting will last approximately 1 hour. And council members, is there anything else? Seeing nothing, we will conclude our caucus at 7:51 PM. We will begin our regular council meeting at 8 PM. Thank you. The council meeting of September 21st, 2021 will now please come to order. The audience is invited to join council in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mrs. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Broussard.
Present.
Mr. Glassburn. Here. Ms. Heeman.
Here.
Mr. Kelly.
Here.
Mr. Limpert.
Present.
Mr. Schuman.
Here.
Ms. Williamson.
Here. If there are no additions or corrections, the council meeting minutes of September 7th, 2021 are approved as written. The following legislation will be considered for suspension of the rules this evening. On second reading, Resolution 2020-111, Resolution 2021-55, Ordinance 2021-57, and on first reading, Resolution 2021-61. Mayor Kennedy, do you have a report this evening?
Madam President, no report this evening.
Thank you. Law Director Garreau, do you have a report this evening?
No report this evening, thank you.
Thank you. In the absence of Finance Director Kopfer, is there a report?
No report, Madam President.
Thank you. Moving into council committee meetings. Councilman Broussard, Chairman of the Public Safety, Health, and Welfare Committee, do you have a report this evening?
I do, Madam President. It's probably going to be a lengthy one, so I'll apologize in advance. The Public Safety, Health, and Welfare Committee met on Tuesday, September 14th, beginning at 7 p.m. to discuss 2021-57 and 2021-58. We'll start out with 57. It's an ordinance amending and reestablishing Section 505.16 entitled Vicious and Dangerous Animals of Chapter 5 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Olmsted in order to adopt and follow state code procedures for determinations by the Animal Control Officer and to provide for judicial hearings of appeals in declaring an emergency. So as the legislation description indicates, this would amend it to follow the, more closely follow the state code. And then the animal control officer or designee can make a determination on the spot versus having a hearing. Appeals would be heard in Rocky River Municipal Court. It also clarifies classifications of dogs such as nuisance, dangerous, and vicious. After further discussion, it was voted on and approved by a vote of 3-0. We then went on to 2021-58, which is an ordinance to amend Section 555.03 entitled Specific Prohibitions of Chapter 555 of the General Offenses Code entitled Noise Control of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Olmsted for the purpose of modifying special regulations for specific activities occurring on Sundays, including but not limited to lawn mowing. So although the words in there indicate but not limited to lawn mowing, that was the primary focus of our conversation that evening. And after a very healthy Q&A and comments section, we decided to hold that one in committee because we wanted some additional information, such as what are our neighboring communities doing with regard to when they allow lawn mowing. We then moved on to liquor permit applications. First one was liquor permit number 005-055-10020, which is a new permit, which would be issued to Adapt to LLC, which is DBA Scramblers, located at 26435 Great Northern Boulevard, North Olmsted, Ohio, 44070. There was no objection by the police department and no objection by committee. And that one was approved to all of council by a vote of 3-0. So, Madam President, at this time, I'll make a motion to approve to all of council. new liquor permit number 005-055-10020, Adapt to LLC, DBA Scramblers, located at 26435 Great Northern Boulevard, North Olmsted, Ohio 44070, and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to not object to liquor permit number 005-055-10020 made by Councilman Broussard, seconded by Councilwoman Williamson. Roll call, please.
Mr. Broussard?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Schuman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
That motion passes with a vote of 7-0.
Thank you. Next, we moved on to liquor permit application number 176-039-70025, which would be issued to Cost Plus Incorporated, DBA World Market, located at 26145 Great Northern Shopping Center, North Olmsted, Ohio 44070. Again, no objection from the police department. At that time, I made a motion to not object to all of council. That passed by a vote of 3-0. At this time, Madam President, I'll make a motion again to not object to all of council for liquor permit number 176-039-70025, issued to Cost Plus Inc., DBA World Market, located at 26145 Great Northern Shopping Center, and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion did not object to liquor permit number 176-039-70025 made by Councilman Broussard, seconded by Councilwoman Williamson. Roll call, please.
Mr. Broussard?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Schuman?
Yes.
The motion passes with a vote of 7-0.
Thank you. And then the third liquor permit we considered that evening was a transfer. Transfer permit number 0790591, transferring from Suet Chun Shek, which is DBA Fusing Restaurant, located at 25102 Brook Park Road, Suite 130, North Olmsted, Ohio 44070, which would be transferred to Lee's Seafood Boil, North Olmsted LLC, DBA Lee's Seafood Boil, located at 23642 Lorraine Road, North Olmsted, Ohio 44070. Again, no objection from the police. I made a motion to not object to all of council, to approve to all of council, and that passed by a vote of 3-0. So at this time, I'll make a motion to not object to all of council for liquor permit number 0790591, transferring from Suet Chun Shek to Lee's Seafood Boil, North Olmsted LLC, and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to not object to liquor permit number 0790591 made by Councilman Broussard, seconded by Councilwoman Williamson. Roll call, please.
Mr. Broussard?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Schuman?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
The motion passes with a vote of 7-0.
Thank you. That committee meeting, pardon me. I'm looking for a conclusion time, but I don't have it. I'm sorry, 7:44 p.m. So then we met again this evening, the Public Safety, Health, and Welfare Committee meeting beginning at 7:38 p.m. And present were all of council, including committee members Broussard, Williamson, and Limpert, the mayor, the law director, the planning and safety director, and guests. And we resumed discussion on 2021-58. And I'll read it again. An ordinance to amend section 555.03 entitled Specific Prohibitions of Chapter 555 of the General Offenses Code entitled Noise Control of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Olmsted for the purpose of modifying special regulations for specific activities occurring on Sundays, including but not limited to lawn mowing. Much shorter discussion this time, and essentially we are going to be moving away from the current allowed lawn mowing hours of Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday, 8 a.m. with no specific end time, and then Sunday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And the new lawn mowing allowable hours would be 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. And these hours pretty much mirror the information we received from a number of neighboring communities, so we're comfortable with moving it forward. A reminder was made by Councilman Lippert that he'd like to address other types of power tool noises at a later date, and I agreed with him. So a motion was made to approve to all of council 2021-58 by myself, seconded by Councilwoman Williamson. That passed by a vote of 3-0, and then our meeting concluded at 7:42 p.m. Before I conclude my report this evening, though, I believe Councilman Kelly would like the floor regarding the vicious animals ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So last week, I attended a meeting here at City Hall with the law director, the police chief, police captain, county chief dog warden, and the county administrator from the dog kennels, some representatives from the city, and also our clerk of council and the animal control officer. And we discussed what the county could do to help us, and they also looked over our proposed changes in our animal law, and they liked the way we went with the state code in that one section in order to have the animal control officer to be able to deem the animal dangerous on the spot. They said they can come out and help us if necessary with a vehicle that could hold more than maybe 1 or 2 dogs, should they be available to do so. And it was a great discussion, I think, all the way through. I thank Law Director Grove for being there because he had some input too over other parts of the section, but the police chief's on board 100% with the change, and the county was happy with the change as far as the state code section of it. So I think it went really well, and I'm happy the direction we're moving, and I thank you for the time.
Yep, and thank you for that input. And that will mercifully end my report.
Thank you. Councilwoman Williamson, Chairwoman of the Building, Zoning, and Development Committee, do you have a report this evening?
No report this evening, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Schuman, Chairman of the Finance Committee, do you have a report this evening?
I do. Thank you, Madam President. 9/14/21 at 7:44, Finance met. Present were members Schuman, Kelly, Broussard, along with all of council, excepting Mr. Glassburn, the mayor, council president, director of law, planning, finance, and city engineer, and guests. On the agenda was 2021-55, which is a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county fiscal officer. As per the finance director, this resolution we find necessary to pass every year, and she was good enough to share with us the tax rate info as follows. Property tax rates for the city of North Olmsted total 12.2 mils for the 2021 tax year, collection year 2021 tax year, collection year 2022, and have been the same for several years. They are as follows: general operating 8.3 mils, general obligation bond retirement 1.7 mils, the fire station bond retirement 0.4 mils, recreation 1.2 mils, police pension fund 0.3 mils, and the fire pension fund 0.3 mils. Finance voted 3-0 to recommend to full council with suspension. Meeting ended at 7:47, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Lippert, Chairman of the Streets and Transportation Committee, do you have a report this evening?
I do have a report this evening, Madam President. Thank you. The Streets and Transportation Committee met on September 14th at 8:10 p.m. Present were committee members Lippert and Kelly, council members Jones, Heeman, Broussard, Schuman, and Williamson, Mayor, Law Director, Finance Director, Planning Director, and guests. Discussed were Ordinance 2021-53, which is a Clegg Park Crosswalk Ordinance, and Resolution 2020-111, which is a Clegg Road ODOT Safety Funding Resolution. Mrs. Lieber noted that due to the changes to the ODOT safety grant, the overall cost of the project for which one can apply for that grant was reduced to $250,000, as well as crash thresholds were changed, which impacted the Maple Ridge turning lane that would no longer qualify due to the threshold being 30% serious injury or fatality versus the study showing 20% there at the Maple Ridge turning lane. Amending legislation to still apply with the hybrid beacon portion in conjunction with resurfacing would provide an opportunity of getting 90% funding from the state and remainder of 10% shared with the county, and engineering and design split with the county as well, between us and the city and the county. Ms. Lieber noted the safety grant is a quarterly application now, with a deadline being September 30th. The next round would be December 30th, so we'd expect to know the results of that in advance of that next deadline, at which point the administration could decide to apply again or follow the path similar to Ordinance 2021-53, which would have been self-funding for the engineering and any potential project going forward. Ms. Heeman questioned whether the engineering would consider planning the hybrid beacon to be able to accommodate a future third lane if that was within our plans, and the planning director noted that that could be something taken into consideration. Motion to recommend approval, Resolution 2020-111 with suspension of the rules requiring 3 readings, passed by a vote of 2-0. Ordinance 2021-53 was held in committee by a vote of 2-0. The meeting concluded at 8:10. Madam President,
Councilman.
at this time, I'd like to make a motion to amend Resolution 2020-111 to exclude the reference related to Maple Ridge turning lane, and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to amend 2020-111 made by Councilman Limpert, seconded by Councilman Kelly. Roll call, please.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Schuman?
Yes, with comment. I'm very disappointed that we weren't able to get this turn lane put in. 9 accidents a year at that intersection. It would have been $500,000 in improvements to Clegg Road, and it would have included this beacon, and I'm really disappointed. Thank you.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Broussard?
Yes.
2021-11 has been amended with a vote of 7-0.
Madam President, this concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Heeman, Chairwoman of the Environmental Control Committee, do you have a report this evening?
I do not, thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilman Glassburn, Chairman of the Intragovernmental Relations Committee, do you have a report this evening?
Madam President, last Tuesday I was not present for that meeting. If there's a report possibly Councilman Schuman would have, and then I'd like a moment of personal privilege after that.
Yes. Councilman Schuman, as Vice Chair of the Intragovernmental Relations Committee, do you?
Thank you, Madam President. 9/14/21 at 6:50 p.m., the Intergovernmental Committee met. Present were members Schuman and Heeman, council members Kelly, Broussard, Limpert, and Williamson, the mayor, directors of law and planning, and guests. The purpose was to interview Mitzi Wilson for the position on the Arts Commission. The councilwoman and I agreed that Mitzi Wilson would be a fine addition, and we voted 2-0 to recommend to full council. At this time, I move we approve Mitzi Wilson to the seat on the Arts Commission, and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to appoint Mitzi Wilson to the Arts Commission made by Councilman Schuman, seconded by Councilman Glassburn. Roll call, please.
Mr. Schuman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Broussard?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mitzi Wilson has been appointed to the Arts Commission with a vote of 7-0.
That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Glassburn.
Thank you, Madam President. Last Tuesday, I'd like to mention 2 matters very briefly. Last Tuesday, I unfortunately had the experience of rupturing the base cervical disc in my neck and have had limited use of my right arm since. I'm very grateful to my council colleagues that have helped knowingly and unknowingly to cover my duties in my absence. And so we'll be dealing with that for the foreseeable future. Secondly, again, I'd like to thank my council colleagues for their help and assistance. Was fortunate enough last night to be able to take home my wife and our first child from the hospital, Adriana. And again, I thank you all for your support and help at this time. That's the end of my comment.
Congratulations, Councilman. Councilman Kelly, Chairman of the Recreation, Public Parks, and Buildings Committee. Do you have a report this evening?
I do, Madam President, thank you. Recreation, Public Parks, and Buildings met virtually on September 14th at 7:47 p.m. In attendance was Council President Jones, Councilman Broussard, Councilwoman Heeman, Councilman Kelly, Limpert, Councilman Schuman, Councilwoman Williamson, the Mayor, the Law Director, the Finance Director, Safety Director, Planning Director, and the City Engineer. The topic was 2021-56, a walking path and restrooms at Clay Park. The walking path and restrooms at Clay Park would consist of a modular building containing one men's room and one woman's room, and the path would connect the parking lot and by the playground, would go around to the other parking lot, and then would connect with the other path that's already there. The planning director said that they would like to get this bid out and award a contract before the end of the year. The cost would be $165,000 with a net cost of $65,000 after a grant of $100,000. There was a question about the path location and if there would be an impact on neighboring yards. Did the city ask any of the residents about that? And that answer was no, but there's a tree buffer between the park and the neighboring yards, so it shouldn't be an issue. There was a diagram that was posted by our clerk to show that on the computer, and the meeting, and I recommended to full council 2021-56, and that passed 3-0. The meeting ended at 7:58 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any letters or communications to come before council at this time?
No, Madam President.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us at our council meeting this evening. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to address council, please approach the podium. Please state your full name and address for our clerk. If you live in a city other than North Olmsted, please state the name of that city and proceed with your comments. You have up to 5 minutes to address council. Seeing no comments from our audience this evening, council will now move into legislation.
Legislation on second reading. Resolution 2020-111. A resolution authorizing and directing the Director of Planning and Community Development to make application to the Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, on behalf of the City of North Olmsted for funding for safety-related improvements to Clegg Road, and further authorizing the funds for the required local match, and further authorizing the mayor to accept the grant if awarded and execute a contract for the same, and declaring an emergency as amended.
Madam President,
Councilman Limpert.
I'd like to request suspension of the rules on Resolution 2020-111 as there is a September 30th deadline. Ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings made by Councilman Limpert, seconded by Councilman Kelly. Roll call, please.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Broussard?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Schuman?
Yes.
That motion passes with a vote of 7-0. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to address council regarding Resolution 2020-111, please approach the podium.
Madam President,
Councilman Limpert.
seeing none, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2020-111 and ask for a second. Or just make a motion to
Second.
adopt 2020.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2020-111 made by Councilman Limpert, seconded by Councilman Kelly. Roll call, please.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Schuman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes, with comment. I'm very glad to hear and to see that this made it through committee last week in my absence. it's important that we don't let other things get in the way of this beacon, which can be done immediately or close to immediately to improve the safety of Clay Road. Thank you.
Mr. Broussard?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Resolution 2020-111 is adopted with a vote of 7-0.
Resolution 2021-55, introduced by Mayor Kennedy. A resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county fiscal officer.
Madam President,
Councilman Schuman.
I'd like to move for suspension of the rule requiring 3 readings, as this was heard in committee, reported out this evening, and there was some time limitations involved. Ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings made by Councilman Schuman, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Schuman?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Broussard?
Yes.
That motion passes with a vote of 7-0. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to address council regarding Resolution 2021-55, please approach the podium.
Seeing none, Madam President, I move for adoption.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2021-55 made by Councilman Schuman, seconded by Councilman Broussard. Roll call, please.
Mr. Schuman?
Yes.
Mr. Broussard?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Resolution 2021-55 has been adopted with a vote of 7-0.
Resolution 2021-56, introduced by Mayor Kennedy. A resolution authorizing the Director of Planning and Community Development to advertise for bids to award a contract to provide construction services for the Clegg Park Restroom and Walking Path Project as detailed in the specifications on file in the Division of Engineering, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder. Ordinance 2021-57, introduced by Councilman Kelly, along with Council President Jones, Council Members Broussard, Glassburn, Heeman, Limpert, and Williamson. An ordinance amending and reestablishing Section 505.16 entitled Vicious and Dangerous Animals of Chapter 5 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Olmsted in order to adopt and follow state code procedures for determinations by the Animal Control Officer and to provide for judicial hearings of appeals and declaring an emergency.
Madam President,
Councilman Broussard.
I move to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings as this was heard in committee and this is a matter of public safety. And I'll ask for a second.
Second. Motion to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings made by Councilman Broussard, seconded by Councilwoman Williamson. Roll call, please.
Mr. Broussard?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Schuman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
That motion passes with a vote of 7-0. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to address council regarding ordinance 2021-57, please approach the podium.
Seeing none, Madam President, I move to adopt ordinance 2021-57 and ask for a second.
Second. Motion to adopt ordinance 2021-57 made by Councilman Broussard, seconded by Councilwoman Williamson. Roll call, please.
Mr. Broussard?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Schuman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-57 is adopted with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance 2021-58, introduced by Councilman Kelly, along with Council Members Glassburn and Williamson. An ordinance to amend Section 555.03, entitled Specific Prohibitions of Chapter 555 of the General Offenses Code, entitled Noise Control, of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Olmsted for the purpose of modifying special regulations for specific activities occurring on Sundays, including but not limited to lawn mowing. Legislation on first reading. Resolution 2021-59. A resolution authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to purchase concrete materials and related supplies for the year 2022, as detailed in the specifications on file with the engineer, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder.
Madam President?
Mayor.
I'd like to introduce, place on first reading.
Thank you.
Resolution 2021-60. A resolution authorizing the Senior Center Administrator to make application to the Western Reserve Area Agency on Aging, WRAAA, for a Title IIIC Nutrition Grant for 2022 and 2023, and if awarded, further authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the WRAAA to accept the grant funds and declaring an emergency.
Madam President, I'd like to introduce, place on first reading.
Thank you.
Resolution 2021-61, a resolution extending the temporary outdoor patio dining area program until December 31st, 2021, and declaring an emergency.
Madam President,
Councilwoman Heeman.
I'd like to request suspension of the rules requiring 3 readings. This has been discussed in our caucus this evening, and the resolution provides for the health and safety of our residents, as well as providing additional revenue to our restaurants. And ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review made by Councilwoman Heeman, seconded by Councilman Glassburn. Roll call, please.
Ms. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Broussard?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Schuman?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
That motion passes with a vote of 7-0. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to address council regarding Resolution 2021-61, please approach the podium.
Madam President,
Councilwoman Heeman.
seeing none, I'd like to move to adopt 2021-61 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2021-61 made by Councilwoman Heeman, seconded by Councilman Glassburn. Roll call, please.
Ms. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Schuman?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Broussard?
Yes.
Resolution 2021-61 is adopted with a vote of 7-0. Moving into scheduling council committee meetings for next Tuesday, September 28th. Councilman Schuman.
I'd like to schedule a Finance Committee meeting for the 28th at 7 o'clock, and we'll be discussing 2021-60. And I would imagine the Planning and Development Director will want to be there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Limpert.
Thank you. I'd like to schedule a Streets and Transportation Committee meeting to address 2021-59 and ask that the Safety Service Director be present or her designee. Thank you.
Thank you. And on October 5th, 2021, at 6:30 p.m., we will hold a Committee of the Whole meeting to discuss the redistricting process. Triad Research will be present, and we would request that the Director of Law also be present. With the agenda being completed and there being no further business to come before council, this meeting of September 21st, 2021 is adjourned at 8:33 p.m.